¿Podemos hablar en español un poquito también?
Claro. Sí, ningún problema.
Can you spell my name?
Yes, you're right. It's GET, the Polish letter
No,
Jew.
no,
Thank you.
there's no Polish letter Żu. Today we're gonna be testing GPT Live together, and it's a model that's gonna completely change the game for small and medium-sized business owners. There's gonna be two parts to this video. First will be live testing, and second will be how it's gonna affect the current market and why it's going to be a huge competitor for most of the brands out there. I already opened ChatGPT's website, and if you want to do it yourself, you're gonna have to go to the settings, and you're gonna have to go to the voice, and you're gonna have to make sure that you selected live. So this will be this GPT Live model. If you have a premium version, there's also a possibility to select the intelligence of the model. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit more detail in a second. Okay, hello?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
That's good. I am great. It's a little warm out today, but nothing too crazy. What are you
Okay.
up to?
Yeah, I'm recording live testing with you today. I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite excited to see how you function and see how you respond to my queries, whether you're, talking a lot or not. Just checking how you function essentially.
Okay, I'm excited for that. Feel free to ask me anything you want. I'll try to keep it natural. And I'm happy to adjust to
Yeah,
your
yeah.
rhythm either.
Okay, and oh, you actually stopped talking quite fast.
Oh, sure. I'll keep it more paced if that helps.
No, I'm asking because typically what happens is when you have a cascaded pipeline, it takes quite a while before a model starts responding, right? And the conversation
Mhm.
isn't that natural, right? So what you have to
Yeah.
do is you gotta use, oh wow, you gotta use a really fast model, right? You're using LLM like
Right.
Nemotron, whatever it is, from NVIDIA, and you have all the TTS, SCT, all of them plumbed in together. But essentially, what ends up happening is the latency is quite bad, and the conversation isn't that natural. So what you have to do is you kind of have to, light through a little bit. So you gotta have the fillers in the conversation to make it smoother. You gotta include the background sound to make it better. But I see that you're doing quite well, actually.
I'm glad. Thanks. Low latency really does make a difference. It keeps the rhythm natural so you don't get that awkward pause between.
Yeah, yeah, okay. ¿Podemos hablar en español un poquito también?
Claro. Sí, ningún problema. ¿Quieres charlar un poco o hablar de algo en particular?
Bueno, la verdad es que no hablo tan bien en español, pero solo quería ver si puedes cambiar la idioma rápido y pienso que sí.
Sí, claro, sin problema.
Okay, wow, this was really impressive. I'm actually very impressed. The change of the languages was very natural and very fast. Wow.
Hmm. Thanks. I try to keep the transitions smooth. It can help keep the flow natural, especially if you're testing mixed language responses.
Ya, ya, es verdad, es verdad. Bueno, dame un segundo, tengo que ver si quiero practicar algo diferente. Bueno, uh, okay, I've got one more test. I want to see how well it responds to asking for entities. So can you spell my name after I tell it to you? And I'll also tell you my address, maybe in Spanish, we'll see. And I want to see how well you can repeat that, okay?
Right, checking now. Go ahead whenever
Okay,
you're ready,
sure.
and
So
I'll repeat it
my name
back.
is Piotr Żaczek.
Okay. Piotr Jaczek. Got
O-
it.
Okay,
If there's an
Ża was
address,
wrong because it's Zet. You spell it differently, but it was very close actually.
yes, you're right. It's GET, the Polish letter
No,
Zhu.
no,
Thank you.
there's no Polish letter Zhu. It's
Is
Zet.
Zhu. That's right. Joe E.T.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, but it's actually very close. It is very close. So it is Zet, but she's confusing it a little bit, but it is very close. I'm very surprised. Okay, now the address in Spanish. So I lived in Avenida Ciudad de Matanzas 16, Planta 5. Can you repeat that?
Hang on. Got it. So Avenida Ciudad de Matanzas 16, fifth floor? Is that right? In Spanish, you'd say vives en la Avenida Ciudad de Matanzas, número 16, planta 5.
Okay, and calle Sol Naciente 10.
All right. Calle Sol Naciente 10.
Yeah, okay. She confused a little bit Spanish and English, but this is really good actually. Wow.
Thanks. If you'd like me to stick to one language for addresses, I can do that.
Okay. No, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, so this was absolutely sick. I'm very impressed. So there are a couple of things happening here. One, the turn taking was actually pretty good. There was only one instance in which I wanted to interrupt the AI, and it is much better than pretty much all of the testing I've ever did on various platforms, on various agents live. So this is very, very well done. The latency on some of the turn taking could be better, and I believe they're gonna improve it even more in the future. But overall, this is a really, really good experience. So we did a couple of interesting things here. So I tested entities recognition. So what does that mean? That means that when I'm giving it an address, I want to see how well it is able to tell it one-to-one, right? So obviously the audio quality was quite good. And because of that, the quality of the responses are going to be better. But generally speaking, when I try that with various models, it always fails a little bit. So it gives a wrong number, it gives a wrong part of the street, like part of the words, and it's just not quite getting it right. So in the past, what you had to do was to send a link via SMS so that the user can input the data himself without the potential errors from the speech to text. A lot of the times, you also needed to get more creative with your prompting techniques. So this model is probably not gonna wipe everything that I just told you about, but it's definitely going to make it a lot better, the data collection part. So let's talk a little bit about how it's going to affect the businesses. And I'll also tell you a little bit more how you're going to be able to implement it yourself. So you have a couple of points to look at. One is geographical location, another is language, another is cost. So let's talk about each of them. What I mean by that is in South Africa, for example, you have very little resources in terms of GPUs. So I tend to believe that in South Africa, it's going to be better to self-host a smaller models with a cascaded pipeline rather than rely on OpenAI that has to divert all the traffic to either EU or US, and it generates a lot of latency by default, which means that this model is going to be much weaker and it's going to have much more budging problems. The same pattern can apply to various locations. For instance, in EU, there's typically worse inference than in US, but we're gonna see obviously how it goes, and we know that OpenAI does invest quite a bit into the models, but we do know that OpenAI invests a lot of money in RAM, and I tend to believe that they are going to make it quite accessible. Let's talk about affordability. So obviously this model is not going to be cheap. We already know that. And because of that, it's going to be impossible to use it in regions such as India because they have very low cost per minute deals in general. It is typically around from 3 cents to 8 cents, which is already high for India. So I'm very confident that this model is just going to be useless in there because of its cost. However, the cost topic is a pro of this model as well. So what do I mean by that? Typically is to find somebody who knows how to do it and who knows how to implement it correctly. So there's a lot of stuff involved to making sure that it looks and feels natural, right? With this model, it pretty much looks natural, it pretty much feels natural out of the box. You're obviously gonna need a little bit of prompting, but it works quite well. I'm actually very surprised with how well it works. And imagine you have a law firm. What matters for you is that quality has to be high, right? And with this model, you're going to be able to achieve really good levels of quality with very little development involved. Much less development involved than, how it was in the past. Small and medium-sized businesses will benefit from this model the most. Because for enterprises, the cost does matter more, and they have the funds to invest initially so that the long-term profit is bigger. That makes me believe that companies such as 11 Labs are going to have a hard time competing with this model. And I'm sure they're trying to cook something like that while I'm speaking, because it's just way too good not to copy it, essentially. How you'll be able to develop with this model once OpenAI releases API access to it. Or if you'd like to hire somebody who knows how to do it, who did it on 50 million calls per year scale, go to calloptima.com, book a free consultation with me. I'm happy to help you. So the model does all the thinking, all the speech understanding, all the interruptions, all of the conversation flow is handled by the model. But you still have to connect to the conversation somehow. So this is where Twilio, Telnyx, or other providers come in. They have their phone number. Well, this is your phone number from them. And when a user calls your agent, Twilio forwards it to OpenAI, and OpenAI establishes connection with Twilio, and they essentially keep on sending the data. So the user speaks, sends it to Twilio, Twilio sends it to OpenAI. Telephony. In the case of calling on a web browser, like a widget in the application or something like that, this is done via WebRTC. It's a different type of connection, but essentially what you need to know is that the quality is better and it is more direct call towards OpenAI servers because they do have their own WebRTC endpoints, or you could be using somebody else's infrastructure. And there are a couple of providers out there as well, such as Dograph, Pipecat, or LiveKit, or you could use closed source solutions such as Vapi, Retail, Live. Connection between Twilio and OpenAI. This setup together allows you to fully connect to the conversation and handle the flow, assuming you have your server that responds to the tool calling, obviously. I'm super excited to try this on my own, especially as I'm in the EU. So we have to abide to GDPR rules, and that means that I would have to contract DPA with each of the providers that I have in my traditional pipeline. However, with this model, I'm able to just contract DPA with OpenAI, and it's gonna make my life much easier. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me in the comments down below, what would you like to see next? So far, I'm really impressed. Like, good job, OpenAI. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.